Hello, welcome to TI-Nspire Navigator Equipment Setup. My name is Valerie Hudson, and I hope you're excited to begin this new journey with your Navigator equipment. So I am going to show you how to configure your hardware. So let me stop this share. And I am going to share my document camera with you. Pull that up. And what you see here are the network connector hats. We have version 2 here. So if you have brand new equipment, then you will probably have version 2 hats, and all of your hats will say V2. If you have a Navigator on campus that's been used in previous years, you will have network connector hats that might say version 2, or there might not be anything. So if you have both versions on your campuses, please know that you cannot mix these in the same classroom. So either all of your network connector hats have to be version 2, or all of them have to be the original version, but there is no mixing. Also, in your equipment, you have these lovely bags to hold all of your network connector hats when you're not using them. So please be sure to hold on to these bags because they really come in handy when you are storing your equipment. Also, when storing the equipment, if you do not have the hats on the calculators, please be sure to store all of the hats that are configured with your access point. This is the access point. So all of the hats that are going to be configured to your access point need to be kept with your access point. So net access point and hats need to be kept together when storing. We don't want to mix them between classes because that just makes things so much more difficult when you want to work them out again and use them the following year, because what we're getting ready to do is a one-time thing. We shouldn't have to do this over and over again as far as configuring the hats with the access point. But if you mix them and we don't know what hats go with what access points, then it makes things a lot more complicated. All right, so let me just show you my personal little hats. I put stickers on, and my personal access point right here. So all of my hats and my access point all have the same little sticker. If you don't like stickers, you could just put your name or something at the bottom, classroom period, classroom, however you want to do that. In my classroom, I didn't use the stickers, but I did number them 1 through 30. And I also numbered my calculators themselves 1 through 30. So calculator number 1 and hat number 1 were together. And student number 1 in my grade book for each class period was responsible for using that particular hat and calculator. And I stressed in my classroom that we do not take the hats off. We're not playing with them. They are a tool, so we need to take care of them. And just make sure that your students know that they need to be responsible with that equipment, just like they be responsible when using a Chromebook or any other equipment they have to use in your classroom. All right, so let me stop this share. And I am going to bring up my software. So let me pull that up. And I'm almost there. Okay, so I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint here. There we go. And let me pull up my software. All right, so here is my software. So notice at the top, I have 4 tabs open. And that is because when I plugged in my new access point, I got this message, set up a Navigator network. So absolutely, I definitely want to set up my Navigator network. I'll show you another way to pull up the 4 tabs after we set everything up. So I will set up now, but let me show you one other thing that we are going to be asked when we start that setup. So let me stop sharing one more time and share my document camera again. Okay, so we are going to be asked to check the operating system on our calculator. So let me get this so we can see it a little bit closer. There we go. All right, so as you can see at the top, I have a flashing arrow, and that is, a flashing Wi-Fi signal, and that is telling us that we are not connected to an access point. It also could mean once we do all the configuration that the hat's not securely on the calculator. So we've got to make sure students don't play with the hats after or when trying to use our Navigator system. Hat should be securely on, but we haven't configured anything yet. So that's why we have the flashing Wi-Fi signal. So we are going to be asked before we start the setup process to check our operating system. So the first thing we'll do is we'll press 5 for settings, and then we'll press 4 for status, and we'll be looking for the version. So our version of calculator operating system as of September 2022 is 5.4.0 and the rest. And of course, for future reference, there might be other operating systems, as TI does tend to upgrade the operating system every year, sometimes a couple of times a year. So just be aware that this is where we go to find that version information. And we'll need to upgrade our operating system every once in a while. Another thing I wanted to show you, we are going to be connecting our access point, of course, to our computer. We'll also be connecting our charging bays to our computer. That's one way that we can configure our software. Our hardware. And I'm on a Mac right now, and many of you know that in the Mac world, if you're connecting a peripheral, you need some type of dongle. So this is an Apple approved dongle. Sometimes the knockoffs work, sometimes they don't. The Apple approved dongle has always worked for me. So that's what I always use when connecting the access point and the charging bays to my computer. So just be aware. All right, so let me stop that share and I'll go back to the software. Back to the software now. All right, so we are going to set up now. So let me click that. And as I said, we are going to be asked to identify the handheld version. And mine does have the latest operating system. So I'm going to click yes and go to next. And at this point, we can give our access point our own name, whatever we want, whatever identifier. We do not have to keep the random series of numbers and letters here. So I'm going to call this access point Ms. Hudson room 302. So you can call it whatever you like, but I really like this feature because if I'm working with Navigator in my classroom with my students and the teacher next door is working with Navigator with his or her students, when the students are logging in, they will be able to see the class network name. And it's so much nicer to see an actual name or an actual room number as opposed to a series of random numbers and letters. And also you can change this class network name later on if need be, if you change rooms or if someone leaves the school and you inherit their Navigator system. So now let me go to next, and it's configuring the access point. Still configuring. Great. So we have a choice of methods for configuring our access point and the network connector hats. So if we have a docking station, it needs to be connected to power and connected to the computer. Now, you have 3 docking stations, most likely, so you can daisy chain those together. And of course, as we have in the picture, insert your calculators with the hats, and we can configure our access point and hats that way. If we don't have a docking station, then you can put the hat on individual calculators, and then on the calculator itself, choose the class network as it says here by pressing home and selecting settings and network. So we can do it either way. I'm going to show this way using the docking station, but I'll also show how the non-docking station way works as well. For that docking station, let me stop the share and I'll show you what I mean as far as daisy chaining. So I'm going back to my document camera. Here it comes. All right, so this is the bottom of the docking station. On the back, you have obviously the power cord, where the power cord goes. You have an in and you have an out. So with the long calculator to computer cables to daisy chain, what we'll do is take the mini USB side and plug that into an in, and then take the end, the regular USB, and plug that into another of your docking stations in the out. So this is a completely separate cord. I am putting in out, go, and then the mini USB side I would put on in another docking station. So you can connect your docking stations together, and then one of the docking stations that is connected with an in will have a regular USB. If I can show it, we'll have a regular USB side that will go into your computer. So once you have connected all 3 of your charging bays, and remember the charging bays have to be connected to power, then the regular USB can go into your computer and all of your docking stations are connected. So I am going to pause and connect all of my docking stations, and I'll start up again. So if you are following along with me, please pause as well and connect all of your calculators and docking stations, put all the hats on the calculators, and we'll start up in just a second. So next I am going to press next. And since I have connected all of my calculators to my computer, notice it says I have 30 available clients. That would be the actual access point network connector, the little yellow hat. I am going to add them all. And we have a little note down here. As it says, we can add available clients and then go to Network Manager and manually add clients. So that's what I'll be showing you in just a little bit. So let me press next. And we are configuring the access point right now. As it says, the setup is complete. We are configured. Definitely back up your class network and finish. So we have our backups. So this has happened, this configuration process has happened a few times with this particular access point. That's why we see the different Navigator networks. But I'm going to go ahead and save. And next on my software, I'm going up to Tools. I'm going to Network Manager. And there is my network name, Ms. Hudson, room 302. I am on access channel 36, but we can change that. This is the default. I'm on 5 gigahertz. And this is the MAC address. Now, once in a while, just depending on the Wi-Fi setup at your school, there might be an issue where your Wi-Fi doesn't recognize the access point MAC address. So this is where you can find that. You can also find it at the bottom of your access point. So once in a while, your tech people might need to whitelist the MAC address so your access point can work effectively in your school. Now, even though I just mentioned Wi-Fi, no, your students can't text each other or anything like that. But sometimes, as I mentioned, the MAC address might need to be given to your district or your school's tech people. So they are aware that, hey, there's something that's trying to work over the air. All right, so if we want to manually add our wireless clients, we will go through that process. If we want to change our operating channel, this is important, especially if you have a classroom next to yours or across the hall or directly above or below you if you're in a multi-floor school, so that you don't have any interference. So if you want to change the operating channel from the default 36 and 5 gig, then you'll just click change operating channel. As I said, the channel 36, that's the default, but you can choose any of the others. So I would get with your other teachers around you that have navigators as well, and everybody choose a channel. So if I wanted to change from channel 48 or change to channel 48, then I can do that. It's thinking. We'll see it change here. There we go. So now I'm on 48 and I still have a good signal. So that's what I'm looking for, just to make sure that I have a good signal no matter what channel I turn that to. Now, if you have the version 1 or the original version of Access Point, then I should say network Access Point Network Connector, then your default is channel 11 on 2.4 gigs, but same idea. You would just change your channel to whatever would give you a good signal. Of course, I don't have that, so I am not going to change my band. All right, so let me click done there. And if at some point you want to change your network name, then you'll click change network name. And then you type in whatever you would like. So let me cancel that because I'm not going to change my network name. To manually add wireless clients or to manually add new access point network connector hats, what you'll need to do is click, as it says, manually add wireless clients. And we are going to, as it says, type in the ID number of the wireless client to add it to the network. So what am I talking about typing? And I'm just moving some things around, and let me stop this share and show you on my document camera. So going to my document camera, here we go. All right, so at the very, very top here, this is the wireless client number. So I'll be typing this number in on my software. So let me go back and stop this share and go back to my software. All right, so my wireless client number starts with a 0. You can type that or not type it if it starts with a 0. So I'm not going to type it. 1, 4, and I'm just going to type what I have. And I'm just double checking, is this correct? Looks correct to me. All right. Now, if you want to type a name at the same time, you can do that. Like maybe this is this hat goes along with calculator 1, then you could type a 1. If not, you don't have to do that. I normally don't because I already configured all of my hats, and I don't normally do the one at a time configuration like we're doing now. All right, I'm going to add next because I'm going to add 2 to my collection. And the next one after, there we go, is this. This one also started with a 0, and I'm not typing it, but you can if you want to. And double checking. All right, so I'm finished. I just wanted to add those 2. So let me click finish. And right now I am putting those hats onto calculators so that I can finish my setup. Now notice that those 2 new wireless clients are not connected. So that's what we're getting ready to do. We're going to connect them. And I have to do that directly on my calculator. So once again, I am going to stop this share and bring up my document camera. And it looks like I actually don't have to do as much as I thought I would, because my calculator automatically found my new access. I said access, I'm sorry, found my new network connector hat. So this is one of the new numbers, if you can see that I just typed in. And notice I don't have that flashing Wi-Fi. I have a flashing circular arrow, which is what we want when we are trying to have our students log in. We want that flashing circular arrow. So there's a step that I actually didn't have to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. So earlier we went to settings, if you remember, to check the operating system. So I'm going to go back to settings and I'm going to go to number 6 network. So let me go to number 6 network. And notice it says Miss Hudson's room 302. If we did not see that flashing circular arrow, then we would click and there might be another name, or there just wasn't anything, and we'd have to select Miss Hudson's room 302 or whatever the network name is, and then come down to connect. But mine already connected, so that's nice. Now, if you just turn your calculator on after entering the hat number, and we don't have that flashing circular arrow, you have a Wi-Fi, you might have to wait like a few seconds just so the calculator, once you turn it on, recognizes, oh, I have a hat on. All right, and let me come to this one. And the same thing happened on my other new hat. Let me make that a little brighter. So again, I'm pressing 5 for settings. I'm pressing 6 for network. And again, my network is right there. But if it wasn't, then I would click, I would select it, and then I would connect. But I'm already connected, so it's very, very nice. All right. So last thing I want to show you, if I can stop this share, go back to my software one more time. Here we go. Last thing I want to show you is how to find the wizard for setting up your navigator if it doesn't automatically come up. It should automatically come up when you connect your access point. But if it doesn't, then I'll show you how to do that. One other thing, and notice that those 2 new access point network connector hats did not show up, but I haven't refreshed. So let me refresh and then you'll see they'll show up. Refreshing, refreshing, refreshing. There we go. And so there's 2 that are disconnected and they probably just turned themselves off. The calculators probably just turned themselves off. If at some point you want to remove a hat, then you definitely can do that. I'll just remove the 2 that I just entered. So that would be this one and this one. And to remove those, I just click remove selected, remove. And removing is important. Let's say you have at most 25 students in your class, but your neighboring teacher who has a navigator has 35 in his or her class, then you might want to be nice and remove 5 of your network connector hats from your system, so your neighbor can add those 5 to their system. So that's one reason to remove, because if we're going to use our network connector hats elsewhere, they've got to be removed from wherever they were originally configured. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this. And how do we get there from our software? Well, I'm going to go all the way to the top where it says Tools, and then I'll go to Network Manager. And now I'm back exactly where I was. So if I wanted to go through that whole network setup wizard again, I can. Once it stops thinking, I would go to Network Setup Wizard, and then I'd be prompted to go through the same steps that we just went through. All right, let me get out of here. And one other thing I wanted to show you is when we started, I already had 4 tabs. Again, I had those 4 tabs because I connected my access point to my computer, and those additional 2 tabs, the class and portfolio tab, automatically came up. So if you just opened your software for the first time, you don't see class and portfolio. Why is that? Because they're not turned on. So I am going to disable my navigator by going to Window at the top of my software. And now my software looks like yours did, probably, when you first opened. We only have content and documents. So if I go to Window now and enable Navigator, then I have those additional 2 tabs. And once I create a class and send items to my students, then I'll have a 5th tab, which is the review workspace. Also, let me just come over here to content for a second. I have my connected handhelds. I can see those over here. Again, if I went to, and those are the ones that are on at this moment. If I went to the network manager again, then I would see all of my hats that I've just configured. So this is the end of our video. And I hope that you enjoy using your navigator system and have a wonderful, wonderful school year.